Elsewhere, Yowoon accompanies Ju to her favorite bar. She asks if he knows that place, to which the young man replies that it must be the bar she frequents. Her boss confirms that it is and that she is a regular customer. She immediately asks what's wrong, since it was he who suggested they drink together, and wonders if he ruined the interview. He replies no, that he simply felt like having a drink, something his boss understands, as she considers that there are always days like that. She doesn't know why, but sometimes she too just feels like pouring herself a drink and relaxing. Then she calls the bartender and orders 2 glasses of their best whiskey on the rocks. The man serves them what she asked for, explaining that as the ice melts, the hidden sweetness becomes more pronounced, so they can enjoy it slowly. Ju tries it and admits that the oak flavor is beautiful and rich. But unlike her, Yowoon quickly downs the whiskey, which annoys his boss, who asks him to take it easy. The young man grimaces, and upon seeing him, his boss comments that watching him like that makes her wonder what could have happened to him. She says that surely something did happen and asks him to tell her. Yowoon, a bit drunk, starts drifting into his thoughts. Ju watches him thoughtfully, then calls the bartender to bring the whole bottle of whiskey. The man asks if she doesn't plan on drinking it all that night since it's very expensive, but she replies that she'll save some for another day and that for now, he'll make a good profit. Afterwards, she calls Yowoon and with the bottle in hand asks him to drink, assuring him it will ease his work stress. The young man raises his glass and thanks her for serving him. His boss, watching him drink, asks if he wants another glass and remarks that it will surely end in disaster. After drinking the whiskey, the young man grows pensive and quickly asks his boss if she's ever felt that way, as if he doesn't feel the way he truly feels. Ju asks what he means, and Yowoon explains that he used to think he was the kind of person who never changed his mind once he made a decision, and that he didn't do things he disliked. But he admits that lately he hasn't been like that he feels strange. His boss asks if he's talking about a love story. After a brief silence, the young man answers yes. Ju wants to know why he says that, and if things haven't been going well with Hain lately. She recalls that the last time she saw him, he had a hickey on his neck, and everything seemed fine. Yowoon replies that he and Hain get along well, and that they've never fought. However, he reveals that not long ago he received a confession from a girl he once liked whom he had rejected at the time. Ju grows thoughtful and quickly asks if that person could be the regular customer who always orders hot chocolate. The young man, surprised, asks how she knew. Then his boss hits him and reveals that she's been watching romance dramas for years, and that he and that girl are not ordinary people. She asks how he felt when the girl confessed, and whether he felt attracted at that moment. The young man replies it wasn't attraction, but that he simply felt pure happiness. He confesses that he hated it when she talked to him, that it annoyed him when she suddenly appeared and acted kind. But after that confession, he felt really good. However, he later thought it was stupid and disgusting. He says he hated her for a long time, tried to forget her, and now that he likes someone else, he's starting to doubt rejecting her. He wonders if he feels this way just because he heard another confession, and thinks he must be a fool without pride. He admits that's what he thought. After hearing him out, Ju asks what he plans to do, and whether he wants to accept that confession. The young man answers with a resounding no since he really likes Hain. However, he admits that right now he feels confused with all his emotions tangled up, and he also feels a bit of self-loathing. His boss reflects and asks if he knows why she got divorced. The young man replies that she mentions it every time she drinks, recalling that it was because of a huge fight, like in a spy movie. His boss laughs and admits it's true, that he has a good memory. But then she reveals that wasn't the case. She remembers that, on an ordinary day, suddenly life seemed trivial. One weekend afternoon, they were on the couch, she watching TV and her husband playing on his phone. At that moment, she looked at him. He had a bored expression, watching a baseball game he wasn't even interested in. Then she felt lost. The days of passion were over, and all that remained were those trivial, boring routines on the couch. She says that from then on, her depression and hysteria worsened, and she became a constant burden to her husband. Eventually, she decided she couldn't go on like that and ended the marriage because she felt that if she stayed, she would ruin not only her life, but also his. Upon hearing this, Yewoon reflects that he never imagined it and never thought his boss had gone through something like that. She tells him that what she means is that he shouldn't be so carried away by emotions. It's fine to be honest, but he shouldn't get dragged into that whirlwind of feelings. He must firmly decide who he wants to be with. Yewoon watches her thoughtfully, but then his boss jokingly suggests he could have an affair and date both, bursting into laughter. This annoys the young man, who quickly replies that he doesn't want that. His boss insists, saying it's not like he's going to get married, but Yewoon remains firm that he wouldn't do it. He says he wants to be with the person he likes without worrying about anyone else. His boss looks at him with pride and, petting him like a dog, admits he's just a little innocent boy. Then she suggests they start really drinking to get rid of all their worries that night. Meanwhile, Shin Hyun-sung, Hyun's uncle, arrives. He greets Dong-chol, the bartender. The man asks what brings him there, and Hyun-sung replies that he came to invite himself for a drink, asking his friend why he's still there, since he usually goes home early to be with his wife. Dong-chol explains that today he has regular customers, and he wanted to drink something for the first time in a while, so he decided to keep the place open a little longer. Upon hearing this, Hyun-sung asks who they are and looks at the customers. He thinks for a moment and recalls that the boy is Haeun's boyfriend. He wonders what he's doing there, and even more so, accompanied by such an attractive woman. Meanwhile, Haeun checks her phone, looking thoughtful. Yewoon, a little drunk, laughs and explains how Hyun threw up on him, and that after that he had to wash his pants before dawn. His boss questions whether she has low alcohol tolerance, and the young man replies that she is not weak, but seems to be one of those who drink excessively, and that last time, the more she drank, the faster she refilled her glass. Oyuju states that if Hyun drinks with her, she will wear her out, and that they should meet someday. Yewoon quickly imagines the scene and thinks that the chemistry between his boss and Haeun is no joke. Just at that moment, the woman announces that she is going to the bathroom, something the young man acknowledges without issue. While waiting, Yewoon looks at his cell phone, revealing that he is staring at the photo Haeun sent him. He reflects that, now that he thinks about it, lately he hasn't been able to say goodbye to her by message, and that he has been so busy preparing for internship interviews and final exams that he hasn't paid attention to her. He states that he didn't even see her when she took the last train, and that he really has been very busy these days. Then someone sits next to him, and Yewoon comments that she came back very quickly. But when he looks at who it is, he realizes it's Haeun's uncle. The man asks if his name is Yewoon, and says it's been a long time since they met. The young man laughs, confirms it, and comments that he didn't expect to see him there. The man replies that the bar belongs to a friend of his. He immediately asks how things are with Haeun and how he is doing. Yewoon replies that everything is fine, and that he is fine too, although he thinks that because of what happened at Haeun's house, he feels a bit uncomfortable seeing her uncle. The man looks at him and says that he doesn't intend to meddle in his niece's private life, but he can't help asking if he is cheating on Haeun. The young man is surprised by the question, and the man says that no matter how open couples are nowadays, trust is an immutable value, and that this is rock and roll. Yewoon replies that he is absolutely right and asks why he says that all of a sudden. Hyun questions if he really doesn't know why, revealing that he saw the person he was drinking with a moment ago, before stating that she doesn't seem like just a friend. Oyuju appears and denies it, revealing with some anger that Yewoon is only a part-time worker in her cafe, where she is the owner, and that today they are just having a company dinner. Hyun, upon seeing her, asks if she is really the owner, since she doesn't seem that old. The woman replies that nowadays there are many young bosses, and asks what is so strange about that. She also says that next year she will turn 39. Hyun, surprised, asks if that is true and if she is not turning 29, reaffirming that she looks very young. Oyuju looks at him for a few seconds, then goes back to her seat and says that he should have already understood the situation. Afterwards, she asks Yewoon who that person is, and if he knows him. The young man replies that he is Haeun's uncle, that he has a music studio, and adds that he lives alone and very close by. Oyuju reacts surprised and comments that it doesn't matter, adding that he also lives alone. Right after, she asks Hyun how old he is, and the man replies that he is 38. So the two start a conversation, as Oyuju learns that Hyun is a friend of the owner and that they both played together in a band. That makes the woman question if boss Dongchul played bass, saying that she never imagined it. At that moment, Yo-woon realizes something and wonders why he is the only one left out of the conversation. He thinks he tried drinking to cheer up with his boss, but she ended up leaving him alone. He drinks a little more and says that he has already shared his worries. While looking at his drink, someone approaches with a glass of alcohol for him. The young man says he didn't order it, but Dong-chol says he is offering it to him and that he also wants to drink something with him. Right after, he asks if he said that Hyun was his friend. Yo-woon confirms, and the bartender shares that when Hain was little, she often went to his studio to talk to him. He even taught her to play bass, although for her it was a bit boring. The young man, surprised, asks if that is true, since he didn't know that Hain also knew how to play bass. Dongchul explains that she throws herself without hesitation into what she likes, although she never does anything she hates. That's why she never got into jazz, even though he wanted her to and even gave her some albums. Ye-woon reflects on the fact that Hayin never hesitates when she does something she is passionate about. He starts to remember her, becoming thoughtful while drinking the glass that was given to him. Dongchul explains that the initial aroma may be strong, but that the aftertaste will be fruity. He also advises him to take his time and savor it, because he will find sweetness in the bitterness. The young man reflects on that, and doesn't know if it's because he is drunk or because he doesn't understand much. But the truth is that he doesn't notice the difference. Even so, he thinks he understands what he means. He wishes to mature enough to instantly discover the truth in a complex mind. However, it is revealed that Dongchul seems to have said something wonderful and profound, but in reality, they were just words from a whiskey salesman. The next day, Yo-woon wakes up drowsy. He quickly feels a headache and, as he lifts himself a little, he wonders where he is. Looking around, he questions if this is Haeun's uncle's room. He immediately gets scared upon noticing that both Haeun's uncle and his boss are asleep together. Yo-woon is confused and wonders what happened last night. Then he thinks he doesn't know, and that he can't do anything anyway because of the hangover, so he should pretend to sleep until they wake up. However, while he tries, the doorbell starts ringing. Again and again, it rings so much that Yo-woon ends up waking up and wonders if it is the postman. But upon hearing the voice, Haeun announces that it is her, calling her uncle. She asks if he is home and comments that the studio door is not open, also mentioning that he has a guest at 11. Yo-woon gets nervous, thinking that what is happening should not be shown. Haeun, on her part, complains, saying that this is why she had told him to change the studio door for one with a lock, and asks why he doesn't even answer her messages. At that moment, the door opens and Yo-woon comes out, greeting Haeun. The girl, surprised, asks why he is there. The young man replies that he went drinking last night and ended up drinking with her uncle. But then he reflects that he doesn't even remember how he ended up in that place. Curious, Haeun asks if her uncle is inside. The young man replies that yes, but that he is still sleeping, and asks if he should wake him up. She says no, that she will do it herself since it is her uncle. That makes Yo-woon nervous, who asks her to wait a moment, trying to explain what she is about to find. However, the girl enters and sees the scene of her uncle, in bed with a woman. Haeun quickly asks what is going on, looking at Yo-woon and wanting to know what happened, to which the young man thinks that he doesn't know either. In a memory, Yeon-woon was sleeping at the bar until his boss started calling him, asking him to wake up since they had to go back home. Oyuju mentions that this is a problem since she doesn't even know where he lives. She wonders if she should take him to a motel and let him sleep there, but quickly dismisses the idea because it would look too suspicious. She questions what she should do. That's when Haeun's uncle suggests that the best option would be to take him to his own house. He adds that it's small, but big enough for 2 people, and since he's close to Haeun, he must take care of him. Oyuju asks if he's sure about that and apologizes for bothering him. The man replies that it's no problem, and that, in any case, his house has always been the meeting place for his friends. However, the woman says she feels bad about leaving him like that, and at least she will help carry him. Hyun-sung questions if it won't be difficult, and if she's really sure about helping. She replies yes, that it's fine and no big deal. Before leaving, Haeun's uncle says goodbye to Dongchul, to which the bartender replies that it's fine and wishes him a safe trip home. After walking for a while, the 3 finally arrive at Hyun-sung's house. Exhausted, Oyuju exclaims that they finally arrived, dropping Yeonwon on the bed and complaining about how heavy it is to carry dead weight. She immediately complains to Hyun-sung that he should have told her his house was on a rooftop because she thought she was going to die climbing so many stairs. The owner of the place laughs and reminds her that he already told her it would be difficult. But then, Yeonwon's boss gets annoyed and says that they suffered a lot because of her employee, and that tomorrow she'll leave him breathless with all the work she'll give him. Hyun-sung, upon hearing that, comments that she seems very close to Yeonwon, since in the end they were drinking late at night together, just the two of them. She replies that they see each other almost every day, and although she doesn't like to admit it, she feels as if he were her nephew. Then she remembers it's already late and says she must quickly call a taxi. However, Hyun-sung suggests that she can stay overnight, so she doesn't have to call a taxi at that hour. Oyuju looks at him incredulously and questions if he's really telling her to sleep at the house of someone she just met a few hours ago. She immediately adds that she's too old to do such shameless things. The man asks what she's saying and reminds her that there are only 2 hours left until the first subway, so he thinks it's best if she rests a bit until then, since it's hard to get a taxi at that hour. He adds that she can stay in the bed while he'll sleep on the floor. However, Oyuju looks at him carefully and asks what his name was again. He replies that it's Shin Hyun-sung. Then she asks him to look at something strange on the blanket. The man approaches, asking what's wrong, and comments that he washed it recently. However, the woman grabs him by the neck and swiftly throws him onto the bed beside her. Looking at him, she asks him to stop playing dumb and sleep in the bed too. She questions why the owner of the house should sleep on the floor, mentioning that even her mother's dog sleeps on the bed. Yeon-sung replies that 3 people in the bed is too much, and that he feels like he might fall off. But Oyuju counters that if that's the case, all he has to do is move closer. The man, a bit embarrassed, says that he's already very close, but she apologizes and asks if he has a girlfriend. He replies that he doesn't. Then she asks if he smells bad, and he replies again that he doesn't. Finally, Oyuju says that if he has no complaints, the best thing is to just sleep, stating that she worked all day and is tired. The man looks at her for a few seconds and thinks it doesn't matter. He'll sleep too. He believes he'll just close his eyes for a moment. After that, back in the present, both wake up. Hyun-sung reflects that he only meant to close his eyes for a moment, but ended up sleeping deeply, while Oyuju thinks that while she slept, her old habit came out, hugging, like she used to with her ex-husband. When Hain hears everything, she asks if her uncle didn't actually seduce Yeonwon's boss. The man replies no, that they only slept and nothing else, also questioning why he would seduce her. Oyuju seems upset by that and lightly hits him. Surprised, the man asks why she hit him, and she replies that she doesn't know, it just bothered her. Both youngsters witness the scene. After thinking a bit, Hain asks her uncle for the studio keys quickly, since the clients will arrive soon. The man says he'll go get them. Before leaving, Hain asks her uncle to invite the boss to eat some soup so she can recover from the hangover, saying that she'll eat some ramen with Yeonwon. This embarrasses the young man, but not only him, also the uncle and Oyuju, who exclaims that now she feels very embarrassed. Outside, the 2 young ones walk together, until Yeonwon asks if she doesn't think the 2 of them make a good pair, even though they just met yesterday and already seem very close. But Hain remains silent. This unsettles the young man, who wonders what happened, why she isn't answering, and if she's in a bad mood. So, a little nervous, he asks if she's angry. The girl replies that yes, she's a little angry. The young man is shocked. He wonders what he did wrong and asks himself if it was for barging into his uncle's house or for drinking too much. Then Hain asks him to wait there because she'll open the studio and attend to the clients. Still nervous, Yeonwon asks if he can help her. She replies no, that there's not much to do, so he can wait there for now. After a while, Yeonwon, sitting on the edge, reflects that no matter how much he thinks about it, he doesn't understand what's wrong. He wonders what made her so angry, and if it was because he drank alone with his boss. Suddenly, Hain shows up calling him and asks if they can go eat ramen, since he needs a remedy for the hangover. The young man agrees. While choosing what to eat, Yeonwon apologizes for going out to drink alone with his boss, explaining that she was the one who invited him. However, Hain remains silent until she comments about the goodnight message. He asks if that's something that should only be sent once someone is already home, explaining that he thought it was just a nightly greeting to not worry the other person. Yeonwon replies that yes, she's right. He apologizes and admits he'll be more considerate next time. The girl smiles, leans in, and asks him not to forget to send her one tonight, reminding him that he owes her 2 goodnight greetings to make up for yesterday's. The young man replies that he will, and thinks with relief that at least she's not so angry anymore. However, Hain mentions that she already has her June schedule, and that she'll send him a picture so he can try to match his free days too. She says she wants to eat pasta with him. Upon hearing that, the young man thinks for a moment, looking at his food, and mentions that summer is about to begin. Elsewhere, Sung Hyun-jae is looking at his computer. While eating a burger, he sees a post mentioning that summer has already begun, and that the 3rd poster for the Hexaport Rock Festival will be revealed, with him among those listed. The man starts reading the comments and reflects that the hate messages are very harsh. He wonders if it's because he's not a rocker, and yet forced himself to go to a rock festival. He says that they're a minority, but even though most comments are welcoming, the attacks still hurt. He questions what he should do. Finally, he reveals that he'll simply ignore them and move on, even if he may regret it. Meanwhile, Oyuju asks Hayen's uncle if he doesn't plan on cutting his hair. The man replies no, since it keeps him warm in the winter and he likes it that way. But she asks if he's a sheep or something and tells him to cut it already. The man, confused, asks why she's bothering him, and she replies that last night she swallowed like 3 strands of his hair while sleeping and that it would be best if he cut it. Surprised, he asks if she plans on sleeping with him again. She ends up ordering him to just eat his food, to which he nods and apologizes. Yeowoon, after taking a sip of his drink, comments that it is refreshing. Hain asks if he feels better now, to which the young man replies yes, and that there is nothing better than ramen for a hangover. She nods understandingly and immediately asks why he drank so much and if something good happened. Yeowoon, while taking another sip, reflects that he cannot confess he was stressed about a confession. So he decides to explain that the previous day he had his first internship interview, which made him very nervous. Hain understands, but questions him with some irony, wanting to know if he really drinks with his boss over things like that. The young man admits it, although inside he feels the guilt hit him in the stomach. After a brief chat, he confesses that the interview was a disaster because he couldn't concentrate due to the interviewer's nose hairs distracting him the entire time, making the girl smile slightly. At that moment, Hain gets up and asks if they could leave, as she needs to return to the studio. Yeowon agrees, though inwardly he regrets that they haven't talked much during the meal, especially since they hadn't seen each other in a long time. Just then, she asks if he wants to accompany her, reminding him that he has never visited the music studio where she works. The young man hesitates for a moment, but hearing that it is quiet at that time, he agrees to go with her. Upon entering, Yeowoon is amazed by the place. He asks if all studios are the same and states that it is incredible. Then, Hain explains that on one side is the recording room, further ahead the private practice rooms, and at the end of the hallway, the band rehearsal room. Sitting on a chair, she tells him that this is usually her workspace. Curious, Yeowoon asks if she manages the studio schedules, but she jokes that she actually just takes naps there, which makes Yeowoon complain that she is a salary thief. But then the girl clarifies that she was joking, and that her work involves much more than he thinks, including cleaning, sending equipment for repair, subcontracting musical projects. Although she admits that when working with her uncle, it is relaxing, and when alone, everything becomes chaotic. She immediately invites him to see the rehearsal room, which is free at the moment. He gladly accepts. Upon entering, Yeowoon is impressed and asks if both independent bands and club bands rehearse there. Hain replies that both do, and sometimes even famous groups come, as the place was already a rehearsal studio before her uncle bought it. In fact, last week Kaleidoscope was there. This surprises Yeowoon, who asks if she means Ha Hyun-ho from Music Platoon. She nods, recalling that they had to rush to a photo session that day. The boy, still impressed, asks if she also plays there. Haen responds yes, that if the studio is free, she usually practices guitar, because one must play loudly to improve. He starts admiring the huge speakers, and she watches him smiling before asking if he wants her to show how she plays the guitar. Yeowoon immediately replies yes, almost with childlike enthusiasm. He admits he wanted to ask earlier, but was afraid of sounding rude. Haein, amused, tells him she already guessed from his facial expression. She prepares everything and asks him what he wants to hear. Yeowoon, seeing her with the guitar, thinks she looks amazing and tells her to play whatever she prefers. Haein begins to improvise, which amazes Yeowoon, who asks if it was jazz or some famous song. She laughs and clarifies that she was just warming up with a blues scale. He compliments her, saying she is amazing, and she comments that it is fun to see his reaction, maybe even to play a joke on him. Then she changes the rhythm and launches into a heavy song with full force. Yeowoon, surprised, wonders if it is metal. When she finishes, she asks him what he thought, and he replies without hesitation that it was great. Then he asks if she usually listens to metal, but Haein responds not very often, just some popular tracks or useful ones for practice. Then she prepares the guitar again and starts playing a melody that Yeowoon recognizes from Long Afternoon. Haein then asks if he knows which song it is. He replies yes, and that it is In the Tide. This makes her reflect on when her boss said not to be carried away by emotions. But she confesses that, honestly, it is impossible not to get emotional, with that serious expression, with those delicate movements, playing something he loves, the fact that someone is cherishing it right in front of him. Then Haein's uncle appears out of nowhere, calling her scaring the kids. The man greets Yeowoon, and Haein asks her uncle to play first before entering, something he claims he did, but she seems not to have heard. Later that night, in her apartment, Haein receives a message, quickly jumps to grab her phone, and upon looking, replies to Yeowoon that the suit he is wearing looks very good. He thanks her, but Haein comments that the bathroom background is a bit funny, to which the young man excuses himself, saying he had to take the photo quickly. He immediately sends another photo, and Haein asks what it is. Yeowoon explains that the bar owner took it while he was sleeping, which amuses Haein, who wonders what those old men are doing. Then the girl wonders if she should send one too, thinking of taking a normal photo. But then she sees something. Yeowoon sent a message saying that the 15th works for him. She thinks about it a little and immediately states that it will be a perfect day. She writes that she will go to his house to eat on that date, which he confirms, ending the conversation with Haein sending a good night. After that, she reflects that lately she has gotten used to chatting by messages, when before even a simple text would make her heart race. She wonders if maybe she got used to it thanks to these late-night chats with Yeowoon. Then another message arrives. She wonders who it could be, questioning who it might be at that hour. Looking, she realizes it is from Lim Ji-won, who asks if she would be free on Monday morning. The next day, while Haein is walking, someone calls her. She, turning around, asks if it is Lim Ji-won. But seeing the person, she questions who he is and what happened to his eyes. The young man replies that he stayed up late talking to his sister, hence his eyes are like that. Haein, upon hearing this, asks if he means the girl who lives with him and if they had a fight. The bassist replies not exactly, but explains that she gets home late because she goes to clubs, so he scolded her for that and suddenly started arguing with him while drunk. Haein then comments that he is acting more like a dad than a brother and starts laughing. The young man responds that his parents are far away, so he has to control her. He adds that she is very immature, only 20 years old, and lives recklessly. Haein watches him for a few seconds and asks why he asked to meet so early in the morning. Ji-won replies that he has no particular matter, but clarifies that Hyung called him. So both meet with him, who greets them upon seeing them. He asks how they are and comments that a lot of time has passed. He immediately asks if they can talk in the meeting room. He says it is nothing very important, but it is confidential. Both young people agree to accompany him. Hyung then offers them tea and asks Haein how the preparation of the next album is going, confessing that he heard the recording is already finished. The girl replies that she has already finished mixing and all other details so far, and that she is thinking of recording 2 or 3 more tracks and releasing them as an extended play. The man, upon hearing that, asks if they also plan a physical release. Haein replies no, as it would be a bit expensive. The young man comments that it is a shame, since nowadays more people buy discs as merchandise. But Hyein explains that even with her follower numbers, she could not cover the basic production costs. He immediately questions what all this is about and why he called her and Ji-won. Hyung understands that everyone is busy, so he gets straight to the point, stating that it is actually nothing serious. He just wants to ask a kind of favor. So he explains that at the rock festival where he will perform, he wishes Long Afternoon to be his session band. Both young people are surprised. Hyein asks if he no longer has his own session band, also explaining that the setup is different from their group and they have more members. Lim Ji-won looks at him and questions if he is sure it is not just because it is a rock festival. The man replies that it is, and that precisely because it is a rock festival. He adds that, of course, if he asks his session musicians, they could arrange the composition for a festival, but since they will do it anyway, he would like to try with a rock band with a strong identity to handle the arrangement. Hyein, curious, asks why arrange specifically for that festival, arguing that Sung Hyun-jae's songs are amazing, so they should be fine as they are. Lim Ji-won then asks the girl if she doesn't read internet communities. Hyein questions that, affirming that she does. She has even done second-hand exchanges, referring to sales sites. So Lim Ji-won clarifies that it is not that. He explains that there was an uproar in the comments of the rock festival's official account about Hyung's presence in the lineup. Many argued that Sung Hyun-jae does not do rock and that the festival has become commercialized. Others claimed it is now a pop festival, not rock. Ji-won comments that these are the unpleasant comments about Hyun-jae's presence on the main stage of the festival. Hyein, upon hearing, asks if that is true, and if there is a rule that only rock bands can perform at a rock festival. Lim Ji-won replies that it is just anachronistic rock and asks to ignore them, as those people will not attend the festival anyway. But Sung Hyun-jae comments that it is true. Most comments are supportive, and honestly, there are not that many unpleasant ones. He adds that the organizers also said ticket sales have not been significantly affected, so it is only he who feels the need to prove something. He explains that no matter how much an artist tries to justify, it will all sound like excuses. Shouting phrases like, "Rock festivals are a celebration of all music," or mentioning that there are also DJ parties at night only earns the contempt of those determined to bring him down. So he wants to prove that he can also entertain at a rock festival. He clarifies that, of course, he will maintain his basic style while making the arrangements and cannot be overwhelmed by detractors or neglect his fans. Then Hyein asks if he is entrusting that responsibility to Long Afternoon. The man replies that while recording the video clip with them, an idea occurred to him observing them, confessing that they have an amazing sound and that if they gel well, they could create an interesting synergy. He recalls that the festival is in early August, so there is still time to prepare. He explains that it is a 50-minute set, so it won't be too difficult. He asks them to check their schedules and let him know that same week. If any part is missing, they can complement it with their session musicians. Hyein thinks about it a little, which Lim Ji-won notices. He recalls when he asked Sung Hyun-jae to let Hyein go on a big stage at least once. Back in the present, the bassist comments that since it was referred, even if it coincides with other tasks, he will prioritize this over the others. This surprises Hyein. Even more when the boy comments that he wants to perform at a rock festival and asks her to think about it too, clarifying that she doesn't have to use the name Long Afternoon. After that meeting, while the girl enters the subway, she wonders what she should do. She knows that for now, her schedules are fine. But anyway, it is just one session, and it is not necessary for her to go on stage. Just then, she sees Yo-woon, whom she calls immediately. The young man, upon seeing her, greets her with a smile and she asks if he is studying. He confirms, additionally revealing that finals are coming up soon. Hyein, curious, asks if they can have lunch together when exams are over. The young man replies affirmatively. This makes the girl happy, who asks him to keep studying and assures that she won't disturb him. He confirms and mentions he will try to focus, as there is much to review. While he studies, Hyein watches him, remembering when someone said that they are not there, and that her band seems to have no potential, stating that, in the end, they would be eliminated. Little Hyein asked her uncle if that meant they could not play at the rock festival, and if playing there was the same as succeeding. Her uncle replied that it was not necessary to play at a rock festival, and that many musicians make good music without performing there. He explained that opportunities to play in front of tens of thousands of people are not that common. He added that it is not easy for an independent band to gather so many people at once, making it the perfect opportunity to perform in such large outdoor venues. She confessed that for that reason, she wanted to go on the stage of that rock festival at least once, that huge stage where only stars perform, and to play her main song there. It would be something amazing. Now in the present, Hyein checks the festival's website. By the way, I suspect this is the real festival called Pentaport Rock Festival in Korea. The difference is that here it's called Hexaport. As proof, I'll leave an image that supports this theory. Well, let's continue. Then she wonders what she is doing. She remembers that everyone else works hard to seize small opportunities. They work hard and fail. They give it their all. But she only doubts herself when the opportunity has presented itself. So Hyein leans on Yewoon. She confesses that she wants pasta and wants to eat it quickly. The young man asks her not to get her hopes up since, after all, it's just homemade food. The girl comments that she doesn't like that, as she is now very excited. He says he will make the pasta very sweet, to which Hyein complains, saying that would be horrible. Then Yewoon asks what happens if he makes it very spicy, and the girl replies that would be painful for him. After that brief conversation, the girl thinks it will probably be fine, as long as it's not under the name Long Afternoon. That the audience only knows her as the session music of Sung Hyun-jae. So she will try the new experience at the rock festival, just as the young man looks at her, making her smile and wish her luck. Yewoon, upon hearing that, asks if she means to make the pasta well. She replies no, that she meant to have luck in the exams. It is reported that, at this year's rock festival, the pre-sale tickets sold out in 3 seconds after the lineup of the legendary band, whose return had long been rumored, was confirmed. Even the organizers estimate that this summer will break the record for the highest attendance in history.